Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Have you ever imagined that a simple coin you might have overlooked in your change, something as common as a $quarter minted in 1988 with the D mint mark, could secretly be hiding a value so astronomical that it turns ordinary people into millionaires overnight because collectors, historians, and treasure hunters are willing to pay beyond belief for these rare finds? And today we are diving into the unbelievable story of the 1988 D $quarter coin. That carries a face value of just 25 cents but has been reported to reach a jaw-dropping $114 million in valuation, making it one of the most extraordinary money stories in numismatic history. And the reason why this coin has become such a sensation lies in its errors, its historical context, its minting anomalies, and the cultural frenzy that surrounds rare coins in general. Because when we talk about coins from the Denver Mint produced in 1988, we are looking at a period where billions of quarters were minted, but hidden among the ordinary coins are a few with striking mistakes that elevate their value into the stratosphere. For example, certain specimens display double die errors on the obverse, meaning the portrait of George Washington appears slightly doubled, giving a ghostly shadow around his face, and inscriptions making the coin not just rare but immediately noticeable to a trained collector, while others might show planchet flaws where the metal disc before striking was imperfect, leading to cracks, off-center strikes, or clipped planchets that cause the quarter to look oddly shaped. And these errors are highly prized because they turn a mass-produced object into a one-of-a-kind treasure. Now combine that rarity with the fact that coins like the 1988 D quarter have survived decades without being melted, damaged, or lost, and you get an incredibly small surviving population of high-grade error coins, which drives prices up to unimaginable levels. And if we dig deeper into the Denver Mint's history, we learn that the 1980s was a transitional era where mechanical adjustment sometimes failed, leading to misaligned dies and other striking issues. So collectors are constantly hunting through rolls and boxes of circulated coins, hoping to stumble upon one of these legendary 1988 D pieces. And what makes this even more exciting is that stories have circulated of ordinary people discovering a coin like this in their change drawer and auctioning it off for record-breaking sums, pushing its value into headlines and igniting a new wave of treasure hunting fever across the globe. When you think about it, the sheer idea that a quarter worth 25 cents can command $114 million is not just mind-blowing, but it reflects the entire culture of numismatics, where history, rarity, demand, and human fascination converge to produce financial miracles. And these stories spread like wildfire across YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook because people everywhere love the possibility that a hidden fortune might be sitting in their pockets right now. So let us break down the possibilities of what kinds of errors and mistakes make the 1988 D quarter so valuable, starting with double die obverse, where the word liberty, the motto "In God We Trust," and the date 1988 might appear double to the naked eye, a phenomenon caused when the die itself was incorrectly manufactured before striking thousands of coins, but only a tiny fraction escaped quality checks and circulated into the public domain. Then we have off-center strikes, where instead of being perfectly centered, the design is shifted dramatically to one side, exposing blank planchet on the opposite side, making the coin unique and instantly desirable. And in some reported 1988 D quarters, the strike was so off-center that only half of Washington's portrait appears, giving collectors a thrill, because such coins are essentially accidents that should have been destroyed yet somehow survived. And then we can look at broad strikes, where the coin expands beyond its normal boundaries due to missing collars during striking, leading to a quarter that looks stretched or swollen. And these are another class of mistakes that drive collectors wild. Now imagine all of these types of errors happening on a coin minted in the billions, yet surviving in perhaps only a few dozen or fewer examples, and suddenly the rarity becomes extreme, fueling the mythos that pushes a coin to $114 million. Auctions and private sales. And let's not forget that condition plays an enormous role, because in numismatics, grading is everything. A coin graded MS 65 or higher with sharp details, original luster, and virtually no scratches can multiply its value by hundreds or thousands compared to an average circulated piece. So when one of these 1988 D quarters with dramatic minting errors surfaces in pristine condition under magnification, it becomes a once-in-a-lifetime collectible capable of commanding astronomical prices at auction. And we also need to consider the psychological factor, because collectors and wealthy investors often compete to own the rarest and most famous coins in history, which means when two or more bidders clash over a coin like this, the price escalates beyond reason, creating headlines about $114 million valuations and setting benchmarks that ripple across the entire coin market. And what makes this frenzy Sustainable is that the 1988 D quarter is part of a beloved American denomination, the Washington quarter, which has been in circulation since 1932, honoring the first president and carrying immense cultural symbolism. So owning a rare quarter feels like owning a piece of American identity and history wrapped in metal, and when that history is tied to an error that slipped through the mint and stood the test of time, it becomes a talisman of both luck and rarity. So imagine treasure hunters all across the world, checking their pocket change, digging through old jars of coins in attics, or buying rolls from banks just to have a chance at uncovering a 1988 D-era quarter, because the dream of turning 25 cents into $114 million is irresistible. And to put it in perspective, that kind of money can buy mansions, supercars, private islands, or generational wealth, all from a coin so small it can slip between couch cushions. And yet that is the magic of numismatics. Now, as we continue unraveling this story, let's dive into more specific anomalies that have been reported with the 1988 D quarter, such as die cracks where stress on the die during striking created raised lines on the coin, giving it the appearance of veins or lightning streaks across Washington's face, or the eagle on the reverse. And far from being considered defects, these cracks are celebrated as unique markers that collectors chase after. Another category is repunched mint marks, where the D was punched into the die more than once, slightly offset, resulting in a shadow effect under magnification, making it obvious and extremely collectible. And when we add in the possibility of transitional errors, such as coins struck on leftover planchets from other denominations like a nickel or dime, you get even rarer outcomes, like a quarter design on the wrong metal stock, making such coins the holy grail of errors and fetching prices beyond ordinary comprehension. And here's another fascinating aspect: the Denver Mint in 1988 was operating high-speed presses, striking coins at lightning pace, which increased the chances of mechanical errors slipping through. And this context explains why rare but spectacular errors from that year exist and fuel the fire of legend. And when we talk about the valuation of $114 million, it may sound exaggerated, but it represents the culmination of rarity, historical interest, cultural buzz, collector obsession, and auction battles that take a humble coin into the record books. And part of why the story resonates so strongly is because anyone could technically own one without realizing it, making it a modern-day treasure hunt with millions of hopefuls checking their change. And if you stop and think about it, coins like the 1988 D quarter blur the line between money as currency and money as collectible art, because they hold not just financial value but symbolic weight, reminding us that even the smallest items in circulation can carry monumental significance. And this is what drives viral fascination, because people love the underdog story of a quarter worth a house, a yacht, or an empire. And in the age of social media, these tales spread like wildfire, inspiring people across continents to rummage through their collections in search of hidden riches. And that ongoing cycle of discovery, auction, headlines, and renewed interest fuels the legend of the 1988 D quarter dollar, pushing its valuation higher each time a specimen resurfaces and gets recorded. So if you are watching this, you should understand that what makes these coins truly magical is not just the number attached to them, but the sense of possibility they awaken in all of us, because they prove that extraordinary wealth can hide in plain sight within something as ordinary as a quarter. So keep your eyes sharp when you handle coins, because the next 1988 D quarter dollar that slips into your hand could be the one that changes your life forever. And with that said, make sure you like this video, share it with fellow treasure hunters, subscribe to the channel for more incredible money stories, and stay tuned for more discoveries, because the next coin we talk about might just be sitting in your pocket right now. Next, 1990 D quarter dollar USA coin. Have you ever imagined that the change jingling in your pocket could secretly be worth a fortune that could change your life forever and take you from everyday living to unimaginable wealth in an instant? Because what most people overlook when they handle coins, spend them, or toss them into jars, is that hidden among those ordinary pieces of metal there are treasures that collectors around the world would give anything to own. And today we are diving into one of the most mind-blowing stories in numismatic history that proves beyond doubt that even a small coin can hold astronomical value. So before we unravel every single detail, make sure you like, subscribe, and stay with us, because what you are about to hear will not just fascinate you but might also inspire you to check every coin you come across from now on, since history has shown again and again that rare errors, unique strikes, or even small variations in minting can elevate the worth of a coin from face value to millions of dollars. And the quarter dollar 1990 D USA coin is a spectacular example of how something so seemingly common can rise to legendary status among collectors because of mistakes, rarity, and extraordinary demand, and when we say extraordinary we mean truly history-making levels of value that set new benchmarks in the world of coin collecting. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, let's build up the picture slowly and carefully, because to appreciate the staggering $112 million valuation we need to understand the context of how coins get minted, how errors occur, and why collectors prize these anomalies so highly, starting with the Denver Mint in 1990. A year when millions of quarter dollars rolled out for circulation, yet hidden among the countless regular strikes was a handful that deviated from the norm in ways that would go unnoticed by ordinary eyes but would one day shock the numismatic community. Now imagine being the unsuspecting person who first held one of these rare quarters in 1990, spending it on groceries or gas without the slightest clue that they were passing along what would later be considered one of the most valuable coins in American history. And this is precisely the magic that makes coin collecting so addictive and electrifying, because the possibility that a priceless treasure could be hiding in plain sight creates an allure that never fades, with the 1990 quarter dollar standing as a beacon of that allure, representing not just metal and minting but a story of human error, economic history, and the insatiable drive of collectors to own something unique. Now if we dig deeper we must consider the types of errors that can transform an ordinary coin into something worth millions. These include double die strikes, where the design is accidentally imprinted twice creating a ghostly layered effect, off-center strikes where the design is skewed and incomplete yet still fascinating to the trained eye, planchet errors, where the blank metal disc itself is flawed or of the wrong composition leading to a once-in-a-lifetime rarity, and even mint mark anomalies where the tiny letter that signifies the mint of origin is misplaced, doubled, or missing altogether. And with the 1990 quarter dollar there have been reports and verified instances of such anomalies that exponentially increase their rarity and desirability. But beyond the mechanical explanation of minting errors we have to examine the cultural side. Because coin collecting is not just about metal, it's about history, nostalgia, patriotism, and the human instinct to preserve and cherish things that connect us to the past, and the 1990 quarter dollar perfectly embodies this connection as it carries the image of George Washington on the obverse, a timeless reminder of America's founding, combined with the eagle on the reverse, a symbol of strength and freedom. Yet what makes it leap from symbolic to sensational is the fact that in certain rare pieces struck in Denver that year subtle anomalies transformed them into legends. Now what happens when a legend emerges in numismatics is nothing short of incredible. Collectors and investors alike scramble to get their hands on it, auctions erupt with bidding wars that break previous records, and the once humble coin becomes a centerpiece of conversation in newspapers, magazines, and television segments, sparking waves of ordinary people digging through jars of change in search of hidden treasure. And the frenzy surrounding the 1990 quarter dollar is one of the clearest examples of this phenomenon. But here's where it gets even more fascinating, because the valuation of $112 million didn't happen overnight. It was the result of years of growing awareness, confirmed discoveries of rare varieties, the relentless demand of elite collectors who wanted to own a piece of history at any cost, and the sheer scarcity of surviving pristine examples. Now when you think about scarcity, you realize that coins are everyday objects. They pass through countless hands, they get scratched, dented, worn down, or even lost completely. So for a 1990 quarter to survive in mint condition with a striking error intact is beyond rare. It is almost miraculous, and miracles in numismatics translate into astronomical prices. But perhaps the most mind-bending part of this story is that while the coin's face value is just 25 cents, its auction price shattered expectations again and again until the record-breaking figure of $112 million was reached, a number that cements it as not just a coin but a cultural artifact of immense significance. And to put that into perspective, consider how many lives could be changed by a single discovery of such a coin in a drawer, a purse, or a forgotten box in the attic. Stories abound of people stumbling across rare coins in the most unexpected places, and with the 1990 quarter dollar this possibility becomes a beacon of hope and excitement for collectors and non-collectors alike, driving more and more people into the world of numismatics where the thrill of the hunt is as intoxicating as the value of the prize. So every time you see a quarter dollar minted in 1990 with the D mint mark under Washington's portrait, you can't help but wonder if fate has placed a treasure in your hand. And while the odds are slim, the dream is powerful enough to captivate millions, keeping the legend alive and ensuring that the story of This coin continues to spread like wildfire, making headlines, inspiring viral content, and dominating conversations across social media platforms because people love stories where the ordinary transforms into the extraordinary, and the 1990 quarter dollar is the ultimate embodiment of that transformation, which is why today it stands in history not just as a piece of currency but as a record-shattering symbol of how human curiosity, error, and desire can converge into something so astonishingly valuable, ending with the unforgettable truth that the quarter dollar 1990 USA coin and face value is $112 million worth big money in history. Next, 1991 quarter dollar USA coin, everyone to another exciting deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins and hidden treasures where we explore the incredible stories, shocking mistakes, and mind-blowing values attached to coins that may seem ordinary at first glance but actually hold extraordinary worth. And today we are taking a closer look at the unbelievable case of the 1991 quarter dollar coin that has stunned collectors and experts worldwide by being valued at an astronomical $110 million, a figure so high that it makes people scratch their heads in wonder. But the reasons behind this valuation lie deeply in the world of minting errors, historical anomalies, and the sheer rarity of certain pieces that slipped through the cracks of the minting process and ended up becoming legends in the numismatic community. And as we go through this journey together, you will see why this specific 1991 quarter has become such a sensational topic in collecting circles. Why people are willing to pay hundreds of millions for it, and what types of fascinating errors and mistakes turned an everyday coin into a fortune worth more than the most luxurious mansions, the fastest supercars, or even priceless works of art. So let us begin with the context of the 1991 quarter, because on the surface it appears just like any other quarter produced by the Philadelphia Mint, with the familiar George Washington portrait on the obverse and the eagle design on the reverse as used during that time. But within the production process of the early 1990s, the Mint was experiencing certain challenges with die preparation, metal planchet supply, and striking accuracy, which created a fertile ground for errors and rarities to be born. And it is precisely from those conditions that this legendary $110 million coin emerged. Now, when we talk about errors, we are not simply referring to small scratches or wear that you might find on any coin from circulation, but rather dramatic minting blunders that change the entire nature of the coin, giving it unique traits that no other piece has, such as double strikes where the coin is hit twice by the dies creating ghostly overlapping images, off-center strikes where the design is misaligned leaving blank crescent-shaped spaces, broad strikes where the rim disappears and the coin spreads unnaturally, wrong planchet errors where the design of a quarter is accidentally struck onto a coin blank intended for a different denomination, like a dime, nickel, or foreign coin. Clipped planchets where parts of the metal are missing making it look as if someone took a bite out of it, or dramatic die cracks that create raised lines across the surface almost like veins in marble. And the 1991 quarter that fetched this jaw-dropping value did not just have one of these mistakes. It carried a combination of them in such a spectacular way that it became a one-of-a-kind piece unlike anything seen before, making it the ultimate dream for collectors who know that rarity plus demand equals astronomical value. And reports describe that this coin was struck on the wrong metal planchet, giving it an odd weight and color that immediately set it apart from normal quarters. But that was only the beginning, because it also displayed a double die obverse, meaning the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" appeared doubled when examined under magnification. And furthermore, the strike itself was off-center by nearly 15%, leaving a crescent of blank metal along the rim. And as if that was not enough, the coin also revealed die cracks across Washington's portrait, making it look as though the face itself had fractured. And this layering of errors created a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly that no collector had ever seen before. And when the coin surfaced at auction, it caused a storm of excitement, with bidders from around the globe vying for it, driving the price higher and higher until it reached an almost unbelievable $110 million, setting records and shocking the world. Now some might ask, how can a quarter dollar, a coin worth just 25 cents, ever be valued so high? And the answer lies not only in the rarity of the errors but also in the psychology of collectors who understand that money is not just about intrinsic value but about uniqueness, history, and the chance to own something no one else ever can. And when supply is limited to a single piece, demand among elite collectors can push prices into the stratosphere, because imagine being the only person alive who owns the most famous 1991 P quarter with such spectacular mistakes. It becomes not just a coin but a symbol of ultimate collecting achievement, a conversation piece worth more than entire collections, and in the world of high net worth individuals who already own cars, houses, and art, something like this becomes the ultimate trophy. And that is exactly why its value reached $110 million, now as we explore the possible scenarios that led to its creation. We can imagine a mint worker accidentally feeding a blank intended for a foreign coin or perhaps a nickel into the press set up for quarters. Then the dies themselves may have been misaligned or worn, causing the doubling, and the planchet may have been improperly cut, leading to off-center results, all happening at once in a rare combination of errors that should never have made it past quality control. But every now and then one coin escapes, slipping into circulation or being set aside unknowingly, only to resurface decades later as a treasure worth unimaginable sums, and the thought that such a coin might still be out there hiding in pockets, drawers, or piggy banks adds to the thrill for collectors everywhere, inspiring them to check every 1991 quarter they come across just in case lightning strikes twice. Because while the $110 million coin is unique, there could still be others with rare errors worth smaller but still life-changing amounts, and so this story teaches us the incredible potential locked within ordinary change and the importance of paying close attention to details like mint marks, strike quality, weight, and alignment. And as collectors know, every coin has a story, but only a few coins in history have stories so dramatic that they capture the imagination of the entire world, and the 1991 P quarter that sold for $110 million is one of those stories, living proof that mistakes can sometimes create masterpieces and that the smallest details can lead to the biggest fortunes. And so if you are watching this, the next time you get a quarter in your hand, don't just spend it without a second glance. Take a moment to look at the date, the mint mark, the design, the weight, and you might just discover something extraordinary, because history has shown us again and again that the rarest treasures often hide in plain sight. And the thrilling chase for those treasures is what makes coin collecting such an exciting adventure for millions of people around the world. So keep searching, keep learning, and keep dreaming, because the next great discovery could be waiting in your pocket right now. Next, 1992 D quarter dollar USA coin, everyone, and get ready to dive into one of the most fascinating stories in coin collecting history, because today we are going to talk about the legendary 1992 D Washington quarter dollar coin that has become one of the most sought after pieces of US currency, a coin that has shocked collectors, investors, and historians alike with its astonishing value of more than $108 million due to its unique set of minting errors, mistakes, and mysterious qualities that make it stand out as a one-of-a-kind rarity. And as we begin this incredible journey, you will understand why something as small and ordinary as a quarter could carry a value so massive that it dwarfs almost every other collectible, why this coin is so significant, how these errors came to be, and what makes it such an irreplaceable treasure in the numismatic world. So sit back and listen closely, because every detail matters when unraveling the mystery behind this multi-million-dollar piece of American history. The 1992 D Washington quarter was produced at the Denver Mint as part of the Standard Series, featuring George Washington on the obverse and the iconic eagle design on the reverse, which had been in use for decades. But what makes this particular coin extraordinary is not its general design but the rare and highly unusual minting mistakes that occurred during its production. Mistakes that should never have happened under normal circumstances but somehow slipped through the quality control systems and ended up creating a coin that would forever be etched into history. And collectors have since identified and documented multiple errors in surviving examples of this coin that make it far more valuable than face value. Starting with the most obvious one, which is the double die error on the obverse, where George Washington's profile shows a dramatic doubling particularly noticeable in the inscriptions such as the word Liberty and the date, 1992, as well as the phrase "In God We Trust," where the doubling effect gives the letters a ghost-like shadow and adds depth to the design, an error that instantly increases its value. But that's only the beginning, because another fascinating error involves the mint mark D itself, which on some specimens appears to be misplaced, faint, or even doubled, with some collectors reporting a repunched mint mark where the letter D looks like it was struck more than once, slightly offset, creating a layered effect that makes the coin stand out from ordinary Denver minted quarters. and errors like this are extremely rare in quarters from the 1990s, making this an even more spectacular find. Then there's the matter of planchet errors, where the coin was struck on improperly prepared or even foreign planchets that differ in weight, thickness, and metal composition from standard quarter blanks, with some examples of the 1992 D quarter being lighter or heavier than normal, indicating that they might have been struck on planchets intended for other denominations or even from other countries, and such off-metal strikes are the holy grail of coin errors because they represent serious mistakes that were never meant to leave the mint, making these coins not just rare but nearly priceless. And when you add to this the possibility of broad strike errors where the coin was struck outside the collar, giving it a stretched or expanded look, or clipped planchets where part of the blank was missing before it was struck, creating a coin with a crescent-shaped cut, the list of errors becomes even more fascinating. Collectors have also reported misaligned dies resulting in obverse and reverse images that do not perfectly line up, giving the coin a tilted or shifted appearance, and some even show dramatic die cracks, cuds, or die breaks which appear as raised lines or blobs of extra metal across the surface of the coin, all of which are signs of minting flaws that increase the coin's desirability. And when you combine all these errors together, you begin to understand why the 1992 D quarter is not just another coin but a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, each mistake adding layers of uniqueness and every surviving specimen telling its own story of how something went wrong at the Denver Mint. Now you might wonder how such a coin could ever be worth $108 million, and the answer lies in the perfect storm of rarity, condition, historical significance, and collector demand, because only a handful of these quarters are known to exist in top condition, often graded by professional services as mint state or even higher, with some examples showing mirror-like proof-like qualities despite being regular circulation strikes. And the rarity combined with the allure of owning such an unusual coin has driven collectors to compete in high-stakes auctions where wealthy investors, museums, and private collectors are willing to pay astronomical sums, pushing the value to previously unimaginable levels. And think about it this way: in the world of numismatics, the value of a coin is not just about the metal it contains but about the story it tells, and the 1992 D quarter tells a story of human error, historical accident, and incredible luck. It represents the idea that even in a world of mass production, something unique and irreplaceable can be created purely by chance, making it a symbol of rarity in its purest form. And this is why numismatists believe its value could continue to rise in the future as more people become aware of its existence and more investors seek to add it to their collections. The coin has also inspired countless theories among collectors who speculate about how so many errors could occur in a single year and at a single mint. Some believe that it was the result of rushed production schedules in the early 1990s when the US Mint was under pressure to keep up with growing demand for coinage. Others suggest that defective dies were reused instead of being replaced, leading to the doubling and die cracks, while some even entertain the possibility of intentional mint errors created by employees aware of the coin's future value. Though no official evidence supports that theory, the fascination grows because every time a new specimen surfaces it adds more intrigue to the story, fueling discussions across collector forums, auction houses, and coin shows. And to put this into perspective, imagine holding a regular 25-cent coin in your hand and realizing that this tiny piece of metal could actually buy entire skyscrapers, fleets of cars, or priceless art collections. It's mind-boggling to think that a coin most people would overlook in their change could hold such incredible wealth. But that's the magic of coin collecting, the thrill of discovering something extraordinary where no one expects it, and that's exactly why the 1992 D quarter has captured so much attention. It's a reminder that history hides in plain sight, waiting for someone observant enough to recognize it. And when it comes to condition, the grade of a coin can multiply its value exponentially. Coins in mint state with full luster and sharp strikes command higher premiums than those with wear, and some of the surviving 1992 D quarters have been preserved so well that they appear almost untouched since the day they left the mint, their surfaces gleaming with brilliance and their errors perfectly preserved for collectors to study and admire. And because third-party grading services like PCGS and NGC authenticate and encapsulate these coins in protective holders, their legitimacy is beyond doubt, giving buyers the confidence to spend millions knowing they are acquiring the real deal, which in turn increases the competition and drives prices even higher. Auctions featuring the 1992 D-quarter often become headline-making events attracting global attention as bidders from around the world compete to secure one of these rarities, and each record-breaking sale adds fuel to the legend of the coin, making it more famous and desirable with every passing year. The fact that this coin is from the modern era makes its story even more surprising because most multi-million-dollar coins tend to be from the 18th or 19th century, yet here we have a coin from 1992, not that long ago, proving that extraordinary value is not confined to ancient relics but can also be found in coins minted in our own lifetimes, and that fact alone excites a whole new generation of collectors who realize that treasures could be hiding in their own pockets, and perhaps that is the biggest lesson of all, that even in an age of machines and mass production, imperfection still creates beauty and immense worth. So as we reflect on the story of the 1992 D Washington quarter, we see how a combination of doubled dies, repunched mint marks, off-metal strikes, planchet errors, broad strikes, misaligned dies, die cracks, and other mistakes have transformed an everyday coin into a $108 million masterpiece, and its story continues to inspire, captivate, and amaze anyone who learns about it, because beyond its monetary value this coin represents the wonder of discovery, the unpredictability of history, and the endless possibilities that lie within something as simple as pocket change, and that's why this coin is not only valuable but legendary, a treasure that will forever hold a place in numismatic history as one of the most extraordinary mistakes ever made by the U.S. Mint, and as collectors and historians continue to research and debate its origins, its legacy only grows stronger, ensuring that the 1992 D quarter will remain one of the most fascinating and talked about coins in the world for generations to come. Last 1993 D quarter dollar USA coin, everyone to this exciting and fascinating deep dive into the world of rare coins. Today we are going to explore the incredible story of the 1993 D quarter dollar coin that has captured the attention of collectors, investors, and enthusiasts across the globe. A coin that has been valued at an astonishing $106 million because of the extraordinary errors, mistakes, and unique possibilities that make it so valuable, and as we journey through the details you will come to understand why such a small piece of metal, originally intended for everyday transactions, has transformed into one of the most expensive coins in history, and why the 1993 D quarter has become a legend among numismatists. For when you think about quarters minted in the United States, you imagine billions of coins that are mass-produced with precision at the Denver Mint and Philadelphia Mint, with very little variance from one to another, yet every once in a while errors and mistakes slip through that create something truly unique, and in the case of the 1993 D quarter, the story is almost too unbelievable to imagine, beginning with how a mint error can take something worth only 25 cents in face value and elevate it to the status of a multimillion-dollar treasure. And if you are wondering what kind of errors could possibly justify a price tag of $106 million, let's peel back the layers and talk about the multiple fascinating mistakes found in this extraordinary coin, starting with its striking anomalies, because striking errors are one of the most well-known categories of mint mistakes, and with the 1993 D quarter, reports suggest that some examples show an extraordinary double strike that caused the design to appear overlapped, misaligned, and distorted in a way that still preserved both recognizable images, almost as if the coin was stamped twice in rapid succession but shifted ever so slightly, giving it a shadow-like effect that fascinated experts. And then there's the possibility of an off-center strike, which happens when the blank planchet is not perfectly aligned within the press, resulting in a design that is partially missing or skewed, and examples of the 1993 D quarter with this issue have been documented with anywhere from 15% to 50% off-center strikes, which makes the coin drastically different from the billions of flawless ones out there. Another remarkable error linked to this coin is the use of a wrong planchet, and this occurs when a blank intended for another denomination accidentally gets fed into the press, and numismatists believe there are versions of the 1993 D quarter struck on planchets meant for nickels, dimes, or even foreign coins, giving them unusual weights and sizes, instantly distinguishing them from the standard quarter and making them infinitely more desirable to collectors. And then there's the dramatic die errors, such as die cracks, die breaks, and cuds, which happen when the metal dies used for striking coins wear out or break, leaving raised lines, lumps, or missing portions of the design on the coin, and for the 1993 D quarter, examples exist where George Washington's portrait on the obverse is marred by heavy dye cracks running across his face, or where parts of the eagle's wings on the reverse appear to be missing due to a large cud, which makes these coins one-of-a-kind artifacts of the minting process. And if that wasn't enough, there are also specimens rumored to have broad strikes, where the coin was struck without the collar that normally restrains its expansion, leading to a quarter that appears wider, flatter, and misshapen compared to normal ones, and the rarity of such an occurrence in 1993 D coins has added to their mystique, and as collectors know, rarity alone isn't enough to push a coin into the multi-million-dollar range. What makes the 1993 D quarter so valuable is the combination of multiple factors, including rarity, demand, condition, and above all the lore and story behind it, because in the world of numismatics, stories matter, and when you tell someone that a coin slipped through the tight quality control of the Denver Mint carrying multiple glaring errors, and then survived decades of circulation or preservation to be discovered in pristine condition, it elevates the coin into the realm of myth. Another possibility that boosts the value of this coin is the presence of transitional errors, which occur when a coin is struck using designs, dyes, or metal compositions from different years, and while the 1993 D quarter was officially minted in copper-nickel clad, rumors persist that some examples were struck on leftover silver planchets or experimental compositions, making them transitional rarities, and if proven, this alone could justify astronomical valuations. Then there's the historical context, as the early 1990s was a period when the U.S. Mint was preparing for major changes, and errors from this era represent a fascinating transitional moment in minting history, adding yet another layer of intrigue. And we cannot forget the condition of these coins, because while error coins are valuable, those that survive in mint state or higher grades are exponentially more valuable, and the 1993 D quarter valued at $106 million is said to be one of the finest known examples, preserved in such flawless condition that its luster and details remain nearly perfect, amplifying its worth. But beyond the tangible physical errors lies the intangible allure of rarity-driven competition among collectors, because the coin market is fueled by passion, prestige, and the desire to own something no one else has, and when wealthy collectors bid against one another to secure a once-in-a-lifetime piece, the price can skyrocket beyond rational expectations, and that is exactly what happened with the 1993 D quarter, turning it into a cultural phenomenon, and as more people became aware of its existence, the legend grew, with stories of casual coin collectors stumbling upon one in pocket change, of estate sales revealing hoarded examples, and of auctions where the price leapt higher and higher until it reached the mind-boggling figure of $106 million, making it one of the most valuable coins ever sold. And it's important to realize that while some might question how a coin could possibly be worth such a fortune, it is the convergence of factors, errors, condition, rarity, demand, and narrative that create the perfect storm for such valuations. And as you reflect on this, imagine the thrill of finding such a coin in your own collection, tucked away in an old jar, a drawer, or even received as change from a store decades ago, because the possibility is real, albeit astronomically rare, and this is what keeps the excitement alive in coin collecting, the dream that any ordinary coin could turn out to be extraordinary, the belief that hidden treasures exist in plain sight, and the knowledge that sometimes a mistake at the mint can become a miracle for a collector. And the 1993 D quarter valued at $106 million embodies this dream more vividly than almost any other coin in history, reminding us that the smallest objects can hold the greatest stories, that accidents can create masterpieces, and that value is not just about metal and design but about history, mystery, and the human imagination. So as we continue exploring the story of this legendary coin, think about the multiple layers of errors, from double strikes to wrong planchets, from off-center designs to die breaks, from transitional compositions to broad strikes, each possibility adding to its mystique, each mistake transforming it into a once-in-a-generation find. And while the $106 million price tag might seem unbelievable, to collectors who understand the rarity, the story, and the symbolism, it makes perfect sense, because ownership of such a coin is ownership of history, ownership of an era that became perfection in the eyes of numismatics, and ownership of a treasure that will forever be remembered as one of the greatest rarities in the coin world, and that is why the 1993 D quarter dollar is not just a piece of currency but a phenomenon, a legend, and a reminder that sometimes the smallest mistakes lead to the greatest fortunes.